Well, welcome you two to the Oakwood Cemetery Chapel. I'd love to hear you give just a basic introduction. Start with your names.
Thomas E. Brown.
Alice Brown.
All right, welcome. When and where were you born?
Born in Austin, Texas in 1951. Brackenridge Hospital.
So you're born and raised in Austin.
Dr. Dryden. That's his name, Bud Dryden. Anybody stay in Austin know Bud Dryden. He delivered a lot of black people.
What were your parents' names?
My father's name is Thomas LaRue Brown. Born in, I don't have a date with me. But my mother was Mabel Marie Brown. She was a Lemuel before she married my father.
That was her maiden name?
Maiden name was Lemuel. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any siblings?
Sisters and brothers. Jocelyn Marie Taylor Jarman. That's my sister. She's second born in the family. She's about Sarah Joyce.
I don't know. But...
And Kenneth LaRue Brown. He's deceased.
And who were your grandparents?
My grandfather was Keely Stowe Brown. And my grandmother's name, Ellen Brown. Also, I don't know her last name.
That was her last name?
Yeah, Brown. Ellen Brown. I don't know her maiden name. It's not on this here piece of paper.
It is, but we don't know where.
Yeah, it's a lot deep here. That's my grandparents. And my mother's side, Cora Houston, is with my grandmother on my mother's side. She come out of Bastrop, Texas.
And did you have any aunts or uncles?
I have plenty of them.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my father's side. My aunties and uncles. And my daddy had a brother named Eugene Harold Brown, born 3/15/1922. We got Dorothy Mae Brown, that's his sister, born 4/26/1924. You got another sister named Josephine Ellen Brown, 10/26/1925. Mamie Lucille Brown, 5/1/1927. I got Lillian Joyce Brown, 1/24/1930. And Ruth Eleanor Brown, 2/27/1931. They're my father's sisters and brothers.
And brother.
Yeah, one brother.
Do you know how far back, as far as genealogy, have you been able, or you and your family have been able to trace back?
Well, we got on this piece of paper. Keely Stowe was born in 1898. He was married in August 5th, 1919. That's my grandfather. And my grandmother born June 1901 in Texas. To Eugene and Mamie McAteer Phillips. Ellen had one brother, Eugene Phillip. He died at an early age. Now, somebody just wrote all this information down.
Now, John Brown is 1820.
Yeah.
1820, so that's probably, is that the
That's
furthest?
That's the original
back.
date. That's
Okay.
farthest back, 1820.
So you said that you're born and raised native Austinites.
Yes.
So what part of Austin did you live in?
East side. We call it East side, across 35. From this area, from 35 on.
Did you ever live in Clarksville?
Yes, when I was a baby boy. I left there when I was 3.
You lived with Big Mama
Ellen
Brown in Clarksville you were an infant?
Yeah, I was originated. I turned teenager out there.
But how long did you live in Clarksville?
It varies. I was back and forth.
When did y'all move to Hewlett?
Maybe about 3 years old.
So he lived with Big Mama, with his mother and father.
They called Ellen Brown Big Mama.
For 3 years. And then his dad bought a house on Hewlett Avenue. And
On the east side.
On the east side, and they lived there until he moved out, past 18.
Where did you go to school?
Well, we went to L.L. Campbell grade school. We used to go to kindergarten at the Ebenezer Baptist Church. I did. That's a long time ago. And junior high, University Junior High used to be right over here by the campus. And went to Stephen F. Austin High School on what street is
Rio
that?
Grande.
Rio Grande. Graduated from there in 1970.
Is there anything in particular that you would want to share about your childhood, growing up in Austin? Any stories, anything that really kind of comes to mind that stands out?
There's a lot of things stand out. being how to be taught to be a man, but I love sports. And when we were growing up, we always played sports. It's either football, baseball, and basketball, those three.
Was there a park that you would mostly go to?
Rosewood Park, down there on 11th Street, 12. And that was it pretty much. We played down to the park at Rosewood.
He went to UJH, which we have now found out, we feel like it was experimental. Because Austin was still segregated, and UGH had Mexicans, whites, and blacks. They all went to junior high school together. The only school in Austin like that. And then when UJH was finished, Thomas was asked, do you want to go to Anderson, which was still the black high school on the east side, or to Austin High, which was the only integrated high school in Austin, which is, the whole thing is kind of strange to me.
Well, integration just started.
Well, no, but there were very
They
few
were
black
dividing us. They were
It was just
dividing
people
us
from
up.
Clarksville, and Thomas decided he wanted to go to Austin High. And when he was growing up in Clarksville, I would go swimming at West Enfield, which is right there on Enfield. And blacks and Mexicans and whites were able to swim together there, but no other pools in Austin did that. So, it's just strange how they worked that, how the city worked that, and also, I don't know how long ago it was, but maybe 20 years ago, somebody from the university called him and wanted to know what he was doing these days, and it was somebody that was following up on UJH, on the kids that went to UJH. So, I don't know, it's just interesting.
Well, UT, they did a study on progress with bringing us all together. Because they asked us at school. I was coming out of elementary school, and they wanted to ask us in junior high. We went to junior high, we was put together. But the high school part about it, there was a integration store because Lanier hadn't been built. Lanier High School, Crockett hadn't been built, and they just built Reagan out here, and that was it.
McCallum.
And McCallum
They
went
were
to,
all segregated.
yeah. But they went through segregation. No, we didn't. They put us in school. We went to school together, and she went to O. Henry. It was a normality.
With black kids from Clarksville.
Yeah, but she stayed in West Austin.
I stayed in West Austin.
In Clarksville, where my people from. And my cousin is Don Eugene Bailey. He played baseball. He buried in State Park. Y'all know nothing about sports, but he told us when he was coming up at O. Henry, they used to call him, call him that famous big word came with the N. So he went through all that. He's older than me. He's about 3 years older than I. And but I grew up with him in Clarksville, him and his brother and my Aunt Pluky, Lillian, that's her name. We stayed out in Clarksville. I grew up with them. They were my big brothers for a while till I moved to the east side. So that's why I know a lot about Clarksville. So,
and y'all are aware what Clarksville.
Clarksville, that's a slave,
The original
Yeah.
freedom colony.
Yeah.
Right.
And his aunt was very instrumental in getting it
Put on the map.
put on the map as an historical
Place.
and was very involved in
They
the whole
try to
history
squash
of
it
Clarksville.
out. Because it's a couple of them here in Austin. There's St. John's, Clarksville, and there's one behind over off of Airport Boulevard behind Cuffs. Used to be one, I can't think of the name of it. But growing up, it was just I was a carefree guy. I played with everybody. Mother always taught me at home, treat everybody square. You won't have no problems. That's, you know, I don't have a prejudice bone in my body. Because you see, she's a Caucasian,
Yeah.
so I'm not scared of nobody telling me who to marry. I do what I want to because it's a free country. But that's just where I was raised up. And my mother and them, they were sharecroppers. She come out of Bastrop, Texas. They had to pick cotton a living, and she got a brothers and sisters, and you know, I come from that kind of family. Plus my dad, and he went to service, and he grew up in Clarksville. That's where he originated from. After that little slave colony, both of them was in slave colonies. You see what I'm saying? And they know the mentality: to pick cotton, to work hard, and that was it. And they taught that to me. And when I went to Austin High, and found out some more white friends from UJH.
They
you
all,
know,
the people
we're all
from
together.
UJH, they all went together to Austin High.
So was that a little bit easier going to
To
Austin
me,
High?
I can adapt to any situation.
Yeah.
You know, as far as just being this prejudice thing, I don't know nothing about that. I've seen prejudice in my life, but it don't sit well with me because God created us all
Austin
equal.
High was really unusual. I mean,
Well, there's a lot of people that originated in Austin High went to Austin High.
but at the time, I was unaware that all the high schools in Austin, I mean, it was McCallum, and are you sure Lanier wasn't around? But it was definitely McCallum, but I wasn't aware that all the high schools weren't integrated. So
Lanier was the first one,
Okay.
then Crockett on down. Because there weren't that many high schools in Austin when I went to Austin High.
okay,
I remember the schedule, we played football.
all right.
But when Baker Junior High was all white, and McCallum was all white when we played in the 70s. And you know, they went through a whole lot trying to get that school integrated. And they had fights and battles out there at the school bus. They wouldn't let them off the school bus. I heard older people tell me about what happened. But you know, for as Austin going now, we're a diverse city.
Do you have any particular stories about your parents or grandparents that you heard growing up?
Well, my mama taught me about being prejudiced, like I said. And she told me to treat everybody well. I wore a pair of overalls home one day. She said, don't wear them no more, because it reminded me of the man that worked in the store at Bastrop. Told her kids to make them stand out in the street because I don't want them in my store. That's what she told me about prejudice. Now, what else you want to know?
You couldn't go into if you talk about Congress, going shopping on Congress.
Yeah.
Or you couldn't go into the theater.
We couldn't go to Piccadilly. Woolworth, Piccadilly's, Scarborough's were downstairs for blacks. We couldn't buy stuff upstairs. That was at 6 in Congress. That's Scarborough's. That's back in the 60s, 66, 65, on up. They don't have Scarborough's no more. Woolworth, we go in Woolworth. This is downtown I'm talking about.
I would love to, I want to hear those stories that you got that talk about what Austin was like growing up, all those, how things changed.
Yeah, what I seen? Yeah, okay.
What you
From
what you
what period?
experienced.
From what period? From junior high to Austin High or what?
I would say you just
L.L.
talked
Campbell?
about kind of high school and stuff.
Okay. High school was great.
Yeah.
Because we played sports, and I met a lot of white friends today, and that, I got along, we still talk today. And my cousin them was there before me, Don Baylor and Doug. Don graduated, he's the first one left. Then he went to school with the Coverts. You know Danny Covert and them, the one that owned all the car companies? The Coverts, yeah, we grew up with them in high school, at Austin High. So my oldest, Don Baylor, that's Ellen's oldest son, he was there in sports before I got there. When I left UJ, when I went to Austin, I had a pedigree going. So it was somebody ahead of me just tell me things was going on. So the coach was ready for me. The doors was open for me to play ball. I used to come from B team and block for my cousin Doug Baylor. He played baseball at Austin High. And Don Baylor, I didn't get to play with him because he was gone. But he played pro ball. He played professional ball with Orioles and played with a lot of teams, Yankees. You don't know Don Baylor, you know the sports? You know anything about these sports?
A little bit.
Okay, he passed away. He buried over in the state cemetery. And they gave him a plot over there because he's an icon in Austin High. So that's my pedigree come from them. And when we went to Austin High, everything was groovy. Everything was, it was laid out. I mean, you know, we just, you know, because we could play sports. They played basketball. Doug ran track. I did track. And I had a lot of white friends. Then during all this time, this was time of Vietnam. When I went to college, and after 70, I graduated, and I went to Henderson Junior College in Athens, Texas. I got a scholarship to go up there. And we used to look at our deferments on the TV. We used to gather around the dorm all the time because me and James Street played with UT. We graduated at the same time. I didn't know him, but he went to the service. He got drafted, I didn't. My deferment was a little bit higher than his. And we used to sit around TV. I'll never forget it. Everybody be, oh man, my number, I ain't going to Vietnam. Because I had met her, I wasn't gonna go to Vietnam. I was gonna leave this country because I didn't want to kill nobody. I got friends that he dead now, Brad Boren. He told me he loved killing, and he dead right now. I played ball with him. I hadn't seen him since, you know, we left out of high school. So we all got scattered out, you know, but like I said, when I come up that was during the war, the Vietnam on the tail end of it. I remember when it started. I just had made up my mind, not going. I was gonna be what they call you, a draft dodger, what they call. Oh man, and my wife, we're gonna go pack up and go to Canada. I'll never forget it. I told my mom, I said, you might not see me. Because I'm getting out of the country, because I didn't want no blood on my hands. I got one friend went to high school. He said, you killed somebody, and he said, you never live it down, because he was in wartime. I just couldn't take war. I was kind of like Ali, Cassidy Clay. I wouldn't tell you, it made me a different person. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But by my beliefs and my faith, it worked out for me. Never packed a gun in my life. I'm 70 years old, not gonna pack a gun. Gun can't do nothing for me. They say you get them now for protection of your family. Well, you know, wherever I go, because it ain't up to you anyway, how I go, how I leave this world. What else you want to know?
Well, next question.
How did you two meet? I want to hear it.
What, man?
How did you two meet?
She'll tell you.
When I graduated, the year that I graduated in 71, I had a very large party at my house. And I knew his cousin, who graduated with me. I knew him, and I asked him, and I knew who Thomas was in high school, because Thomas was what you would call a jock, and I guess, anyway, I always liked him. He didn't know me, but I knew him. Anyway, so he was off at school, but I knew he was coming home for spring break, and his cousin was going to come to my party, and I said, just by chance, if Thomas is in town, will you bring him? And sure enough, he brought him. I opened the door, and there he was on my front porch. And that's how we met. And I have just one story about that. His dad, there was a woman that lived around the corner. I lived on Kirby Lane, and there was a woman that lived around the corner from us named Miss Slaughter. And Thomas's dad used to cut Miss Slaughter's lawn, and used to bring Thomas with him when they worked. Thomas and his dad worked a lot together. And I remember, because it was very unusual to see a little black kid in the neighborhood. You saw black adults because they were either cutting yards or doing that kind of thing. And I remember, I used to ride my bike by Miss Slaughter's house, and I remember seeing a little boy with his dad at Miss Slaughter's, and it was Thomas. So I always felt like we were meant to be. Anyway, that's how we met.
Yeah. But we used to go and, I mean, you know, me and my father worked for a lot of Caucasian people, you know. You know, I always felt, you know, it didn't bother me. It was a job. You know, I like money in my pocket.
His father always took him with him.
But my daddy kept me away from that. He worked down the Greyhound bus station right here off of, I can't think of the name street. Greyhound bus station and Continental used to be right there. The beginning of Congress, that's what street is that? Run right in front of the Capitol. Is that
Right
10th
across the
Street?
street from the Vulcan gas company.
Like 11?
No. No, yeah, is that 10th right in front of the Capitol? The next street over was the old Greyhound bus station and Continental right there in the corner behind Lamb's Candy, right there. But they further moved down further later on when my dad retired, but they had white fountains and black fountains. Water fountain, they used to always tell me, I was a bad little boy though. I was all over the place, they had to grab me. With all his friends, we would sit out in you don't want to get into that?
No.
Okay. I'm finna tell you some things.
Next question.
What was your neighborhood like growing up?
When I was little,
Yeah, scroll down.
Little, if you remember more about on the east side, what was it like growing up on the east side?
I can't, we wasn't no white people.
Yeah.
Wasn't no Caucasian in the neighborhood. It's Hispanics and blacks. You see what I'm saying? And we was all thrust together. Yeah, but I'm just saying, when I was growing up, the neighborhood was fun. We all hung together. I had kinfolk on one corner. I had kinfolk maybe 4-3 streets over. I mean, all my kin people were close. Seeing we was over at the old Anderson High School. In that neighborhood, had people staying over there. But for when I was coming up, it was fun. I mean, we played sports and hung out together. And my dad always told me to stay out of gangs. Anything wrong with people. Because, when they start that stealing and stuff, get you in trouble.
He had a nice, he grew up in a wonderful neighborhood.
And
Very
it was
together.
quiet,
Quiet.
But the next street over, a little bit different. Not to go to that neighborhood, but I had went to the Harlem Theater up on 12th on Fridays and Saturday nights. You had to pack a stick with you or some kind of protection to get home. And we grew up and went to Rosewood Park, one of the oldest parks in Austin. I used to go down there swimming. They had gangs down there. And I was by myself. I was a loner. So I always had to fight the gangs by myself because I didn't have my backup with me. But that's what I grew up with, dodging people, staying out of trouble.
It was nice.
It was, well, we had fun. I had kin people stayed on the park, And, but, just growing up, it was just fun.
He had a lot of relatives in Austin.
Yeah, we were close, though.
They were very close.
Yeah, we always socialized with each other.
Yeah.
We wanted to kin people's house all the time. Yeah, I didn't get to be no thug.
Did your family attend any churches or any
all the
part
time,
of any groups?
all
Which-
the time.
Which churches?
I grew up with a church across the street in Hewlett Avenue Missionary Baptist Church, 1801 Hewlett. I stayed at 1803.
You lived right across the street.
Went to church when I was 3 years old. And some of the parishes they did now say, Mama brought me in the church. I was 3-year-old holding her hand. They used to tell me they all dead and gone. So that's when the first day I went to church. I've been in that church all my life. We moved out on MLK.
He's still going to Hewlett.
It's called the Grady Hewlett now.
And his mother was very involved.
Yeah.
And another thing, his mother took care of children, and she took care of lots and lots of kids. And
Next question. We're not talking about this right now. Next question.
Okay, let's see. So I know you had mentioned some of the work that your father did. What other kinds of businesses did your family or jobs did your family have? What jobs did you have?
My mama, I worked with her. What they call it, cleaning houses?
yes, she cleaned houses.
What they call that?
And
Maids?
she was a maid.
Yeah, we did that for a lot of people we know. And I worked with her, helped her, because she did that all the time. And my father, he'd get up and cut yards on Saturdays. I was right there with him, because that's money time. There ain't a lot of money laying around the house when you little.
Yeah.
But, I got callus on my hand today from pushing lawnmowers.
And his dad worked at Greyhound for how long?
Yeah, 42 years.
42 years.
Greyhound bus
And
cut.
never called in sick.
Wow.
When he retired, we went to his retirement, and he didn't ever call in sick. All those
Well, that was taught at the house. He had to work.
Yeah.
That was understood. You couldn't lay around and play no games and looking at no TV.
his parents were wonderful.
You had to get up and go catch the work, And what else? Next question.
do you have any memories of like family reunions and get-togethers?
Yeah.
What was that like? Did you go to, were they at your house? Were they at parks? What was
Well,
that
we
like?
started having one on my daddy's side, over to my aunt's house. Ruthie, that's his youngest sister. Her name Ruth Brown. And they started having reunions because they wanted to get all this going. So we know where everybody was and where everybody came from. This exact sheet come from that. And we had fun. It's a lot. I got a lot of kin people, but everybody's dying out now. I'm 70. The 70 club, it's a lot of people you grew up with, they dying. My cousin got cancer. Robert, he made the last touchdown at Anderson High School. Robert Walker, that's St. Lucy's son. It's one of my cousins. And like I said, it was fun times when we were coming up. The throwing rocks and the riding in the street, I didn't go through that. I didn't see that. We had that one time at Austin High. We announced on remember that? When they shut the school down that time, Mr. Robinson had on PA. Remember that ride they were talking about, what's the name of them? They didn't want us to ride at school because somebody started a race fight at school. And they told everybody to be careful. I know the guys he dead now who started it. And everybody was involved in the reunions because we all grew up here in Austin High. We all went to the same school, except I didn't go to L.C. Anderson. I didn't, and I went to Stephen F. Austin just because of that fact. For fights.
Next question.
So since you both are Austin natives, we talk about, you've really seen Austin through the decades.
Yep.
So what would you want like visitors and new residents to know about Austin and Travis County? Maybe stuff that they wouldn't know if they just arrived to South by Southwest today. What would you want as an Austinite to want to tell people visiting?
Now, I know how I feel.
I'd love to hear both sides.
Okay, well, the way I loved it in Austin until about 1975. When I graduated from high school, we had 100,000 people here. Of course, the music was wonderful, and it was small, and it wasn't crazy like it is now. It wasn't expensive to live in, and I realized, through the years, everything's going to go up, but it's just changed so much. And Thomas and I, of course, have both seen it. It's just totally changed. I think that the way we felt growing up, I think there's some of that feeling still here, but if I had to say, well, if you wanted to move out, would you move out of Austin? Not now because of my age, but if I had known that it was going to change like it had, we might have moved. It's just not the same.
Progress, you can't stop progress.
Well, you can't stop progress, but you don't have to let it go like it's gone.
Yeah, too late for that.
It's just gotten so expensive, and I really am upset about the gentrification on the east side. And they did it very slyly, and they did it very quick. You didn't even know it was coming. You really didn't know it was coming. And it just happened so fast, and you put a lot of people out of their houses because of, and that's that ongoing thing of just doing things because you want to do them and not letting everybody know about it. And we don't like that part. So, but it wasn't bad growing up here. It could have, it wasn't like growing up in Mississippi or Alabama for sure.
Streets are bad. And you can't go down 35 at 4 o'clock. You're going to get stopped from here
and you see them
to there.
building all these houses and everything they want to make the people happy, but why can't they fix our streets?
Well, you got town. They put a condo in every corner down there. I remember when it was nothing but lots, when I was coming up. I mean, you know, you can see Austin from Clarksville, but you can't see because all the buildings.
It depends on the people that run this city, what makes a difference. Really.
But they didn't
It's all
build
about money.
they didn't build the streets right. They should have did like Houston.
Well,
Whoever designed Houston,
it got out of
Houston got highways to go. You know, you been to Houston?
I've not been.
Oh, okay. Well, Houston got everything. They got lanes for everything.
Growth got out of control.
But they didn't build Austin for that. Austin was supposed to be in a quiet little town. My father played football in the middle of I-35. It was Dirt Street. They used to play football right there on I-35. They had the East End Park right over here. Y'all don't know nothing about East End Park, do you?
Well, you know, it was the same thing like
It was
with
these
Austin.
black people.
They built I-35 and divided
Yeah.
on purpose, I might say.
You can't go west.
Divide the black.
There ain't no growth west. Can't go west because it's already taken. So this is going to be taken. Yeah, this is going to be taken. You got to go far east. You know, you're going out to all the little country town. They don't even have a store HEB out on 969. Then you got the prison out there on 969. There's still a lot of areas out there that need to be developed. But they slowly doing it. But like I said, West Austin jammed. It's like this. And from downtown, it's packed. I work down there as security guard. It's incredible. And but we can't change nothing. It's over. You got a soccer team here now.
Do you remember? Do you remember some of the old buildings of Samuel Houston College right at East Avenue?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Samuel.
And of course, HD.
You got condos down there. You got the old church right here. What's that church name? It's the old black church right there on 35. It's a condo right there. I remember when they was having wars about building a condo right there by Brackenridge. You know, you don't know Brackenridge, the old Brackenridge.
So they just tore down, yeah.
Yeah, and so they come through there and they started.
Do you remember one of your relatives told us at St. John's when she was, and it was a female relative, when she was young, it was a black colony, and they raised goats, and they had a creamery there, and that was St. John's. Now, Thomas and I didn't see that part, but that just, you know, there's...
Going down MLK, going east, before you get to Airport Boulevard, on the left side before you get to the light, you notice all the houses, the back doors to the MLK. That's because the Caucasian people didn't want to see the blacks at the east side. They used to raise cows up on Airport and MLK. It used to be cattle field up there. But you know, all that's gone. See, but it'll never go back the way it was. But you know, as far as I can remember what people tell me, and there's a lot of things in Austin that's been torn down. They're going to tear down old Anderson, L.C. Anderson. They didn't make that a history marker. That should be, I mean, you know, Anderson, he was tops in sports. And, I mean, basketball, track, and football.
There are a lot of people that graduated from Anderson that have gone on to be doctors, lawyers.
But they shut it down.
It's not just sports.
I mean, you know, just like they just wiped it off the face of the earth. You see what I'm saying? I know it. I'm finna die, but I know what happened over in Anderson because they're going to be gone.
Next question.
Do you know your ancestors that are buried here at Oakwood?
Right.
Can you tell me their names?
Okay. Here we go through this map. So I got Keely Stowe, that's my grandfather. That's Keely Stowe Brown and Ellen Brown, that's my grandmother. My father's mother, Thomas L. Brown. She's buried there. My Aunt Ruthie's buried there. Ruth Brown, Lucy Brown, and I don't know who this Eula Sampson.
We don't know who Eula Sampson
They
is.
say she's kin to her some kind of way.
She must be
This is a map of that plot over there. Yeah.
We're thinking Eula must be on his grandfather's side.
And I got George E. Baylor Reserve. That's Don's father. When you hear Baylor and Brown, they like this because they all married sisters. The Baylors married all the sisters out of my daddy's family. And we got Lillian Baylor, we got Marie Brown, we got another unknown grade, Josephine Brown, that's another sister, Josephine Kendrick. You see that? Mamie Walker, And that's it, all over on this plot here. It's right here, right down way down here on the right side. It's a tree right there, and the first one there, Ellen Brown.
Ellen and...
This is on the front row. That's where you know where the plot is. And my mother's over there, and my father. And but my brother's not buried there, but that's the original plot. That's where we've been going to funerals a lot over my life.
But his brother and, of course, his sister's still alive.
Do you remember the first time you came to Oakwood?
There had to be one. I don't know who the first one was. I can't tell you
The
that.
first one, I think, probably was...
My grandmother that I came to.
You were a child?
Yeah, Ellen.
Did you come to Big Mama's funeral?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was Ellen. We've been married almost 50 years, so I was with him for a lot of these funerals, actually, when they were here, the ones that were here.
Yeah, over 40. We've been married how long?
About 50 years.
Okay.
Do you remember any like particular stories that you've heard about like Oakwood Cemetery? Was there ever any like stories you heard as children or just growing up? Was this always just...
I just don't, to tell you the truth, growing up, I always noticed Oakwood. I knew that it was here, but since it was further east, we didn't come over here much. I didn't start really getting interested in Oakwood until I realized there were so many famous people here. You know, like Zilker and Mueller, and I just noticed the other day when we were here, I used to go to school with the Rose, and they've got a big thing over here. So I guess they were big in Austin at one time.
This is one of the biggest.
Well, there are a lot of Austinites that are buried here from the old days.
Some of the old days,
Yeah,
founders of old people buried in
Scarborough, I didn't realize they were here.
Yeah, you know, that's Scarborough. Well, we couldn't go in the Scarboroughs. We had to go downstairs.
And I think it's interesting that they were able to bury black and white people together. I always thought that graveyards were segregated, but I guess not. But it's not here. Everybody's buried together.
Do you have any other family buried at other cemeteries close by? Yeah. Which ones?
I got some people buried on 12th Street, Evergreen. Now, I don't know how many, because I went to a few funerals over there. My mother's sister buried over there at Evergreen. I can't think right off the top of my head, but there's some more people over there. And my mama's sister's buried at Evergreen, Aunt Amelie.
Oh, Amelie's buried at Evergreen? I didn't know that.
And some more people buried over there, but, you know, people that have died, you can't keep up with everybody. You know, I'm glad I got Facebook, because, I mean, I jumped on it first, because that's the only way I can find out who born, or somebody going to tell you. That's where I deal with, you know, the deaths and the births, because, you know, that's going to go on. I ain't against Facebook, I'm against all the trash, but,
and,
you know,
but both of my parents are buried in the state cemetery.
Okay.
My father was in the legislature, so.
And Don buried in the state.
And his cousin's buried in the state cemetery.
Don L. Brown.
Next question.
Tell us about your grandmother.
Cora? I don't know that much about her. She had different fathers.
She's talking about your father's mother, Big Mama.
I don't know nothing about her.
You don't know about anything about Big Mama?
No, not that much. From Clarksville back, I don't know nothing about that.
but
I just know about all the kids. These are all the ones that's buried over in this plot.
You just didn't talk about the past much.
No. We just found out we had a Caucasian person in our descendants, some area. See, nobody said that. This is how this got brought up. From a reunion, let me talk. From the reunion, we're going to see where everybody come from. This is the only reason these papers got drawn up. And the only thing we know about what was laid over in this plot. That's the only way. And my cousin, she had drew all this up because she wanted to get all our history and let us know about it. That's why the reunion was started. Because Aunt Ruthie wanted us to know everything before she died, before she, passed away. That's the only thing we know right here.
Grandparents.
Because we didn't sit around and talk about everybody. My big mama didn't talk about everybody because she was old. And I hung around. I was first born to my father, and I stayed in that house with her. And they did an add-on. That's why I know about Clarksville. And my kin people stay in West Austin. That's where that comes. But they did not talk about, my people like the real cuss mouth about things. And people do that today.
What kind of land did your family own? Where did they live? We're kind of looking at the how and the where of people.
Yeah, I can tell you about some land that's being owned and where it was treated to them. My father purchased that land in West Austin. He bought that while he was in the service. He went to service, and he was in Clarksville. He bought that land out there, because like I said, it's a slave community. And we didn't know about that till I was growing up. We had, get an understanding about that. But, he purchased that little land out there. They finally sold it. And, like Clarksville.
When Mopac came through, half of Clarksville was wiped out.
Yeah.
I mean, they just took it.
Did they,
Just
was that
took
his
it.
land?
No, theirs was still around. They didn't go as far as Big Mama's part.
But they stayed 2 doors down from Sweet Home Baptist Church.
But they're talking about how
that's it.
much they took in Clarksville. They took half of it.
Oh, they about took all
They
of Clarksville.
almost wiped it out. But his Big Mama's and his cousins, he had cousins that lived there and Big Mama. Their land was not involved in that.
It wasn't too much land being bought back in the day. Like my
They didn't
people
buy
come
any
from
of it. They
Bastrop,
just took it.
because they didn't let you buy nothing in Bastrop.
No.
There wasn't.
No,
it was
no
just
purchases.
eminent
Yeah,
domain. It
yeah.
wasn't a
Yeah, you just buy a
No,
house.
wouldn't buy it at all.
You worked to buy your house, and that was it. But for the history about that. Putting the X on a piece of paper, and then next thing you know, it's
Well,
gone.
we're not sure how.
So, did some of your family's property get taken from a tax?
They probably did, but we didn't know about it. Like I said, nobody don't talk about that. That's none of your business.
I think so.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They ain't gonna sit around the table and say, well, we lost this house because I didn't pay my taxes. My people not gonna tell you that.
No, I don't think
they
any of
didn't.
your people did.
No, they ain't gonna say that. I know them. I know I grew up. You didn't grow up with them. I grew up with them. I know they ain't gonna tell you that.
I'm going to say when I started 7th grade, there was still Weston Field and the train tracks. The train tracks was you had the train tracks, then you had Clarksville right there. There was no Mopac, so all that was involved, and that was in 1965, 66, something like that. So Mopac, do you know when Mopac was started?
We was
It
in
was
high school. We used to ride down there, about 3
It
cars
was
on it.
before we graduated. I
Yeah,
graduated in
before,
70.
yeah. So,
So it was before that.
and she went to one of the oldest high schools in Austin history, O. Henry. O. Henry's still over there. And they didn't, the crowd that went to O. Henry was from West Austin.
Yeah.
They built that school strictly for West Austin.
So Mopac must have been in 1968, 69, something like that.
So if you could send a message to a distant ancestor, something, if you could talk to them, say something, or even someone more recent.
What you just said.
What would you want to, would there be something you would want, a message you would want to send to them?
There's a lot of history in your family that you don't know about, and people that died and took it with them.
You can send them a message saying how proud you are.
Yeah, but they wouldn't know. They would want to know, see the progress that we done, because we're not in no box no more.
Yeah.
I'm not in the box. Yeah. I can go outside the box, but they couldn't. Like I said, Bastrop, Texas was a racist place. That's, all kin people on my mama's side, that was a racist place, I heard. And people I grew up with, I work with, say the same thing. There's, even people in church would talk about Bastrop.
So,
Even Pflugerville.
next question.
So the reverse of that. So if you could send a message 100 years from now, what would you want to say? Can be to a descendant, a complete stranger. What would you want someone to know 100 years from now?
I just let them know that things changed since they've been gone 100 years. There's a lot of things that changed in 100 years. I'm 70, and there's a lot of things that changed. I mean, you know, like I said, in high school, we couldn't even go Piccadilly on Congress. That changed. You can go anywhere you want to now. I couldn't even go to a restaurant in my father's job. I couldn't drink out of water fountain. I seen that, you know, when I was coming up. I was little, but that changed. I worked over at UT for 35 years, physical plant. It was like that when I got there. They were telling me, but you couldn't go in certain buildings, you know, Prater, you know, all them buildings, them slave names over there on campus. You know what I'm talking about, all them dormitories? They still working on that today. Even the football team having a problem time singing the Eyes of Texas. She sang it just as loud as, she's a UT fan, and she sang it just as loud, but it didn't change. You see, just that things that happened in history. And like you said, tell somebody 100 years, they would want to know things have changed. They have changed, they're not the same. And right now, our government's trying to block history. I don't want to know about slaves and stuff like that, because it was a dirty scene.
So it sounds like you would want to make sure that,
You tell them.
because we talk about how things have changed so much to the fact that some people might not even understand what it was like. So it sounds like you would want to make sure
They knew what it was like.
that the truth.
Yeah, you need to teach that.
Need to teach it. But they
has to
still
be
trying to
known.
block it. They trying to pass laws to
has
take it
to
out of
be known.
school.
It's part of it's.
That's
you know,
incredible.
The United States without black people and minorities, we wouldn't have this country. So the history has to be taught.
We free. We really free, but people don't want you to be free.
Well,
'Cause you can't hinder me. I know a lot of things. You can't hold me back. So I'm free. I'm not under slaveryism no more. I can talk just what I want to right now. Anyway I want to say, everybody say, shh. He say, he talking to the lady. She try to shoot me. I talk out loud because it's a free country. And God put us here for one purpose. We all live together. Love one another as the same. Love your neighbor as thyself. First one is love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, and all thy mind. That's it. That's the two things I live by. Whatever you living by, I don't understand it, but that's just me.
Next question.
Yeah, I'll preach to you in a minute.
So on that, so what do you hope for in the future? Do you have any? What are your hopes for when you talk about the progress?
I hope we don't have to talk about all that stuff. I mean, I want people to know.
You want to know what the future future be better.
Just like for us not to have to explain it all the time.
Let everything to be explained the truth. You know, don't hide no lie. Don't let me find out about something. You know, oh, y'all did this. Let the truth be told. Then I can feel better about you being a person. You know, I want to accept you as a true human being to me. You know, I want to let my feelings be known because I don't want to be prejudiced. I can't do it. It's not in me, but it's there. I've seen it in my eyes. I've seen it, and my son is experiencing it, but it's still there. You know, it's in the politics. It's really bad. And politics wasn't built for that. Politics was for everybody to come together and work together.
Next question.
What are your current interests? What do you like to do? What currently interests you these days?
I'm pretty much retired, and I love history. He works all the time.
And I teach at church. It's the church. I'm a deacon in my church, and I'm a Sunday school teacher. And I learn from the KJV, front to back, Genesis to Revelation. I studies it every day, and that's what I know. I know what God wanted us to be. You know, He destroyed this earth one time. With water, second time, gonna be fire. And you see what's going on with Russia right now. You see that. You know what's coming up, don't you?
Anyway,
Yeah, you can't run from the nuclear bomb.
we've worked really hard all our lives, and we rest a lot.
So, you want peace? Jews call it Jehovah Shalom, the Lord of what? Peace.
Next question.
What did you do for work? What were your professions?
I was a nurse. and-
Truck driver.
And he worked for UT for 35 years. He started out when he was 19, and he retired. He and another fellow, a friend of his, actually got the recycling program started at the University of Texas. And you were there 35 years, is that right? Yeah, 35 years. He started when he was 19.
Love to drive trucks. Now I do security.
Now he does security.
I see a lot in security.
And I still just do a little bit of nursing, 11 hours.
That's perfect. Well, I really appreciate you both being here.